So, Kev, how have you been, mate? Family good?
Yeah, not bad. Work's good. Uh, Different routines, getting into different things because I've obviously moved on in the last few months. So kind of a big change that I'll allude to later, but a lot of similarities in what I'm doing now to what I was doing. So it's nice.
Right, mate, we'll go right back to the start then, if that's all right. And where was home for you and who lived with you as a kid?
So home was Ashton In Makerfield near Wigan. Uh, Mum and dad. I've got a younger sister and a younger brother. My sister's is the intelligent one. She's the high flying businesswoman that works as like an executive for like a building firm. She acquires land, acquires grants, gets big structures built and warehouses built across the northwest and Yorkshire and things like that. So she's highly regarded and that in her field. My younger brother's a rugby coach who is playing his trade in Yorkshire's Rugby Academy this year. Has been at Tigers, has been at Midlands West, and is trying to go down the test himself down the coaching route. Really, easiest way to explain it.
Yeah. Right, mate. So, how was rugby introduced to you, and where was it? And
So, rugby for me was I had to go at Haydock as a kid at rugby union. Didn't really work.
yeah.
Not just didn't find it something I wanted to do. So I went to Orell St James's as a 9-year-old, 10-year-old, I think, and then stayed there till I was 16. Didn't move. Now, weird bit was where we moved to when I was 11. I don't know if you know Ashton Burrs.
Yeah.
Well, my mum and dad's house is behind the field where they play.
Oh, is it?
But they started their team up a year or 2 years after I'd already been at Orell. So as Greg, my younger brother, went to Ashton, I stayed at Orell. And I just
Okay.
I just stayed in the same team with the same group of lads all the way through.
Right, mate. So, at junior school level, would there have been a town team when you were playing?
Yeah,
Yeah. Do you remember
definitely.
much about that, mate?
Yeah, I didn't get in.
Right.
And
And how did you take that?
all right.
Yeah.
Like gutted because that is, so wait a minute, 78. So 89 under 11s. I think that was either Wigan against Halifax or Wigan against St Helens. Uh, Wigan were the under 11 debutants for the Challenge Cup final that year. So the under 11 town team went to Wembley, and that was the bigger one. So all the lads I was playing with got the opportunity to go to Wembley and play at the old Wembley.
Right.
So
Yeah,
like
I
one of the
get
lads in
that.
my team, Martin Sibbett, was the guy that went the full length of the field and scored for Wigan in the town team match.
So, did that light anything for you, Kev, or
Uh,
what sort of kid was you? Was that just like it's an unfortunate occurrence, like it didn't put
no,
you off rugby at all?
no, like
No.
I because I didn't play rugby at school, I only played rugby at club. I went to school in Ashton, so I didn't go to St Jude's, I didn't go to St William's or anything like that, where they played rugby as a primary school. So I just got my rugby on a Sunday and a training in the week. So it's just like that's what it was. Like I, as a junior, I played fullback for a long time, and there was better players in them positions, and they got picked. And it was like that's how it is. Trials are rubbish, aren't
Do you know, well, yeah, really, you're not a one-off player, are you, or
they?
over 2 weeks or whatever, which obviously I'm going to query you about later with the roles you've been in and that.
Yeah.
But so as a fullback then, mate, how was you taught to see the game, or was you allowed to see it how you seen it?
So like I spent
Have you
quite a
ever
bit of
seen that
time.
role change? Sorry to interrupt you, Kev, wouldn't you? The
Yeah,
roles changed drastically, the
yeah. So
fullback
I
role.
was up until people realised I was really slow. Then they put me in loose forward.
Yeah.
Like I like one thing about I had game awareness, so I had the ability to understand cutting space. So even though I was slow, I could create angles to make tackles as a fullback. if that makes sense.
IQ made up for it, mate. Yeah.
Yeah, I knew where to be in order to make my job easier. And I also knew where to position myself at various points to catch, retrieve, or catch a ball. And then, like, it just kind of masked a load of physical qualities that I've never had. Never been quick. Like, and to be honest, I'm probably not the bravest, but I enjoy tackling, which sounds really stupid. But like,
Really, mate. Yeah.
It took me till I was about. There's probably various points later on where like I'd had injuries where I realised you just don't really need to give a hoot. You just got to commit to it and just go and go and go. And like, I think that kind of mindset took me a lot longer to get to.
Yeah. So you would believe it then, mate, that it can be trained and taught and not necessarily just born with them.
In terms of, I don't know.
Ability and stuff.
I think it depends what you're exposed to. I think it
Right.
depends what the situations you're exposed to and what life throws at you. Like there's probably factors that make people more determined or more confident or more driven. I mean, like, I'm not going to use it as an excuse.
Yeah.
But my birthday's the 31st of August.
So you're the last of the year group.
I'm the last of the year group. And but I'm 6'6".
Right.
So I might be mature, but I was still immature in certain aspects. And that's not an excuse for it, but
it's a factor, isn't it?
It's a factor, but it's not the reason. And you're like, and it's that levels of like, did my rugby IQ help my lack of physical qualities? Did my watching the game allow me to do things that I shouldn't have been able to do because I shouldn't have been in that position to do it?
Yeah. And do you think people see it that way now a lot more than they did when you were the kid and someone else was in your position?
I think
Did that make sense?
I think talent development has changed whole scale. I think like the ability for players to play cross different positions in different like setups or different structures like is changing the way that young people are seeing the game. I don't know if enough young people are students of the game, so watch as much of it. I think they watch what they have to watch in terms of clips, but I don't know how many are actually proper students of the game and watch players and look at the intricacies of George Ford or Finn Russell or Owen Farrell and what they do to create the space that they have when what looks like the worldly pass, and they are, but what they did to generate that time and space to have it, if that makes sense.
Possibly 5 phases before or whatever.
In the last 3 tackles, the same player's done the same thing.
Yeah.
And I've remembered that. So I'm going to either go early or go late, but I'm going to tell the guy to get on his outside because we're going to go for that space. And identifying that early enough or having the IQ to remember that and keep going at it, or like have the minerals to get whacked because it's going to put someone in so much space on the outside because they're gunning for you.
The next player, mate, they'll drift off you and might hit you on the short line or what. Yeah, it's just
options. And it's having that. Do young players, instead of just wanting to do the fancy stuff, have they got the IQ to do the other bits and learn the other bits? And not all of them do. Not all of them do. Some of them have to just be grafters. Some of them get through by being out and out grafters and the best that they can be. And I've got stories of people that have done that.
It, mate.
Yeah, and that's fine because that's your job. Your job is to work hard for your team, get them in positions around the pitch, and actually front up when it's needed. And that's the role.
I think you've got to love the game to necessarily watch more than what you have to, don't you?
Yeah, but like I think there's, well, I think you've got to have an appreciation for what sport is and what performance is, because like if you can appreciate good performances in other sports and you can identify the things that are there, then it makes it easier like if you're watching, say, the under-18s play this week, and they've been told, like, watch your clips, watch your clips. Well, they'll just watch themselves for that microsecond of 3 seconds before, 3 seconds after. But what did that cause? What was the effect of you doing that? And what did that then affect further down the line, later in the game, when you got the result you wanted, but you didn't get it for the first 3 times?
Right. So I know I'm jumping well ahead here, mate, because we're still only at like you're not at high school yet, but more the role you've been involved in. Do you know when you see a player only watching them 15 seconds before, during, and after? Have you got the license to go in and say, "Well, I've not watched the 90 seconds before"? And
You can,
you
but
know,
it's like, you see some people, I've seen it from so many different sides and so many different angles. Some people don't learn that way.
yeah, they need to be doing,
They
don't
need to
they?
be doing,
Yeah.
and we have to, like, in talent development, you have to accept that not everybody learns the same way. Not everybody processes in the same way and at the same speed. So it's like, just watching clips will suffice a percentage of your squad. Just watching clips and walking through will suffice another percentage of your squad. But then when you change the speed of the defense, which cuts down space and time, can they deliver off watching from clips, walking through and understanding? But then can they also draw back from skills that they've already developed and apply them in a context where space and time is restricted?
Yeah.
And like, how do you generate and grow that over a bit? I think one thing I have learned, like I've talked about this as one of my like philosophies in the way that I worked, is, and young people only know what they know. They only know what they've been exposed to, and you can't expect them to understand what you're telling them unless you explain it all the time.
Yeah, I like that. That's another fact, isn't it? They
Yeah.
do only know what they know. Yeah,
And it's like when, say, a person comes out of playing into coaching, they will coach in the way that they were coached, or the way that they enjoy being coached, because that's the style that they will attribute to.
yeah,
So you have young players that have affordances of going to independent schools who have more rugby than others, or you have young players that play club rugby as well, so they're exposed to different styles of coaching. But you can't expect them to all be on the same level when they get to you. And that's where the art of coaching and the craft of coaching comes in, because it's understanding individual needs and wants, and how you then gel that to make your team.
right. I like that, mate. So at a young age, was you looking at them intricacies?
Me,
Yeah,
I think probably I got to work with a guy who unfortunately passed away last year, who taught me a hell of a lot and was with me for a lot of the time that I played rugby. So he's pretty well known around the Northwest, a guy called Aidan Walker. And he was my under 15s, under 16s coach. He helped me when I went further on to Rochdale. He worked with the students when I played with them, and then he was at Oldham. So he would have been around for like probably 10 years of my life. Now, his first team at St James is Andrew Farrell's team. So Andrew Farrell, Martin Oak, Lee Penny, Mark Hilton, like Christian Wilson, Lee Aberton, that the team that was Wigan's academy program or Warrington's academy program when they all signed pro. And the little things he talked about and the little things he brought in, they were little bits of game understanding, because our team was 15 lads of a certain ability. So he made us play a game that was suited to, we were getting drubbed as under 14s, under 15s, because we've been really successful before that. We've won Lancashire Cup, we've done bits.
yeah,
Lads have played bits in county and stuff. And then, like, people go to St Jude's because they changed school, like people go to Rosebridge because the mates went, like, it happens. That's what happens. But basically, we couldn't keep hold of the ball. So he said, you're just going to scoot from dummy half. You're going to get to 5, make sure you're near the middle and kick to a corner. And it sounds mundane, but we held the ball. We didn't turn it over. We weren't trying to do fancy stuff. and actually gave us more energy to defend, so we conceded less. And then as we grew with confidence, he introduced more and more. But he met the needs of the team by making it as simple as possible without making it oversimplified.
Yeah. So his ability really, mate, was like before its time on it. So if he can adapt to, no offence, the level you and your mates were playing, adapt to virtually academy level, as you said,
Yeah.
and everything in between
Yeah.
is like magic, isn't it?
Yeah.
So he's definitely been tapped into by loads of people, obviously, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So the high school you went didn't play rugby, mate. No.
Yeah, I went to Edmund Arrowsmith, but like it was my years. The years after me were the successful ones. So the year after me was like the year above me, Cardinal Newman shut in Inley. So Anthony Price, Kieran Purtle came, and they were good rugby players. They were playing at St Pat's and Lee East, and they went to Warrington and wherever respectively. Kieran's obviously been assistant at St Helens, been assistant at Huddersfield. I think he's working at Lee now with the women's and the academy programs. Yeah. Like the year after me at school, like Liam Breverton, Martin Kearney, like they were all at Wigan. They were all signed at Warrington and Wigan. Like my year was, it was just normal kids that were just playing rugby, and we had to get all the footballers to come and play as well. So like it was what it was.
That's the beauty, though, mate, innit?
Yeah,
They were
we got a
striking on
game.
the
How
wing and
many have you
stuff.
got? We got 13. I think there's a school in Wigan. It's shut now. It's called Thomas More,
Right.
and it was like 8 out of the Wigan Town team probably went there. Like it was all the St Jude's team were there, and like we had this PE teacher called Mr Griffin, and like he was all right, and like he said to us, "If you beat Thomas More, I'll take you to McDonald's." And we drew 6-6, and we made him take us.
It's a win, though, isn't it?
And he did. He did. And he took us all. It was like, but that was like, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good, mate, because you just wouldn't get that now, would you?
No.
Like, so, like, my year, the Pats team went to St John Fisher. That's where, like, my age and around my age spat out. So I'm like 35 now, so it's like Liam Farrell, that age group.
Yeah.
But so
But if you
when
think
when
like,
you're in and around them people, mate, how did you find going back to club rugby from school rugby? What did you notice much difference?
uh, club rugby was hard. Like you get singled out at various points, get whacked. Like that was it. I got a few knocks. I remember playing St Jude's, where St James was playing Billinge, like wherever it was. I mean, oath put across my face, and I had it put back in the car park. One of the coaches just picked it up and put it back across for me. I'm like, it was what it was. Like it just happened, but like club rugby was good. It was all I had. Like because I did play for the town team. I played a bit of Northwest Counties through school. I went to Australia when I was 15 with Northwest Counties, but that weren't a great trip because I got injured. I felt quite bad for mum and dad actually, so we did a load of fundraising for it, and we went to New Zealand first. And I just did something to my shoulder. I didn't play for the next 4 weeks. Quite embarrassing actually. Now I think about it. It was like
There's nothing you can do about it, though, is it, mate?
no, but like I probably didn't ring home for 2 weeks. My mum and dad were panicking that I wasn't ringing home. It was like because I was embarrassed to say I've got a knock. All the people were telling them, but it was just like I didn't want to front it because it was just like they put a bit in and like because mum would have took time off work from teaching with my brother and stuff like that, and like everybody was managing, I was getting the luxury of going, and it was like, yeah, I kind of messed it up a bit. It can't be helped, but I kind of messed it up a bit.
And do you still feel like that, even though it'd have exposed you to like another level and another experience, mate?
Uh, what embarrassment?
Like, yeah, you know, like you felt like I don't want to put words in your mouth, but a bit of a passenger because you're hurt.
Hmm.
But surely it opened your eyes to
Yeah, it did.
everything
Like
else.
it was great because I saw the world. At 15,
Yeah,
I'd been to
exactly.
America, Fiji, New Zealand, Australia. It was great. I had like two of the lads off the back of that signed for the Western Reds when they were in Perth. Like they got deals to go back out and go to school. So like it was a great trip. I don't think I fully appreciated it as a 15-year-old, but it was like, yeah, I went back to school and like had a really good under 16 year. It was like started playing loose forward, like a bit more involved. People had cottoned on I was slow properly then, so it was all right. And then
We can't all be fast, Kev, can we?
nah,
Like
my sister,
I'm much slower than you, mate. Trust me.
my sister was the quick one, which is all right because Greg's definitely not quick. But like, yeah, it kind of gave me a perspective of how what it like when we went out there. Like a lot of it was rabbit in the headlights because Parramatta were outstanding. People like that, the teams we played against were just next level.
Right.
And like, this is where you want to get to. Wow.
No, and that's what I mean. It must have been like it. So for one, you missed out on Town Team. This time you've made that type of
Yeah.
probably a
Yeah.
bit better than Town Team, to be honest, mate. Northwest Counties.
Mm.
It's still really good.
Oh no,
And then
it
you've just been
sounds
really
like I'm
unlucky.
dismissing a lot of the stuff that I did.
Yeah.
I I was fortunate to get in quite a few of them, and it was good to get experience of playing Yorkshire and go to play Humberside and go play matches for Orell St James in East Leeds in the middle of like where they play and we
Like
travelled.
National Cup stuff, that yeah.
No. We just because
No.
under 11s, East Leeds were one of the best team under 12s, and we just got on a bus and went over to East Leeds and played, and we drew 6-0. I'm
All
like,
right. It's good though.
I'm sure people like who's the big centre? Adam. Loads that end up at Leeds were playing in that
Yeah.
East Leeds team, and it was like, wow, like these guys are tough, they're good, and we've drawn 6-0. Could have won it, and we didn't win it. It was like a great game.
Right. So and you're noticing levels at a young age, Kev, yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
there's a like not just levels, but there was key players that stood out at various points. Like as a probably it's about under 15s. There was Martin Lee who played for Swinton and all
Yeah.
that. No, his lad Chris Lee played at my age. He was out as a standoff. He was outstanding. Like you couldn't put a hand on him when he was playing. Like
Yeah.
Lee Breers never had a dirty shirt.
Yeah.
Lee Breers got untouched in matches, literally, and he just played players into space all the time. And like the other one who probably dropped back in his under 16 year was Paul Sculthorpe, so he's my age as well. But he played like always played a year up at Waterhead, and then as an under I think it was an under 15. There was about 4 of them that signed at Warrington. They all went to Rosebridge. Paul Gardner, him, Michael Whitehead, and there was a load of inch Rosebridge lads like Carl Roden, Damien Cleary, Lee Jones, who had been there all the time. Who were like that was tough. It was tough to go there anyway. And then these couple of lads came. It's like it just takes it up another level. Like they were like physical, technically good, and they just beat you up. But it was like you knew it was coming. There's nothing you could do about it. It was like during these teams get momentum and they just roll and roll. When they got momentum, you just couldn't get near it.
Yeah. So as a player then, mate, how did you manage with momentum swings? Were you all right in a game? Could you stick to processes pretty easily and stuff?
I think at first, like I was probably quite emotional. Like I lost my head a bit at times, like especially when playing fullback last man. I've just let the team down. Like whoa, head roll. But like it's, I think I don't think I ever get flustered. I do. My head rolls and wobble, but I don't really get to that point where I explode.
Yeah.
But I've never been that kind of person. Like if I do explode, it's got to be really, really something that's got to be extreme.
Yeah.
But like in terms of playing, like the game plans were that simple that we played with.
Yeah.
Like it was effectively like instead of having a structure, it was more like having a philosophy. So it's like we want to play in a certain way, but we're limited, so we're gonna have to do it in a certain like box of tricks. So we can either go like a tennis game, one left, one right, one left, one right, or we can go depending where we catch the ball from. We can get to the middle, we can split and go either way, or we can get to an edge, play wide. If we get to the middle, we can keep going. If not, we always want to end up in the best position to take a kick, which means we have to end up in a position where you're going to go. And like we got quite a bit of free license until we'd lost the ball a lot, and then we got then we got into that. Yeah.
So how was the change from 1 to 13 then, mate? And how did your vision of the game change?
Well, this is the weird bit. So, like, do you know when you go to your like end of season awards and you have most improved, this and this? I got top tackler for about 2 years. And I'm like, why is a fullback? Now I think about why is a fullback getting
It's
top
a good
tackler?
point, yeah.
Like, you've got to be bad, but I think it was more that some of the tackles I made were more important at various points. So
Yeah.
like that. But then the transition was like all you're doing is moving up, more ball in hand, and like we just wanted you to do more. Like you want you to have more involvement. Because I've like, I played standoff as well. Like, so either play and effectively as a loose forward, you're either playing at third pass or you're playing at second pass and pivot and moving it off anyway. You just got to carry it a bit more, aren't you? It's not like it's not a bespoke position. You've got to be jack of all and master of none.
Yeah.
Really.
You're a middle third link man, aren't you?
Yeah.
Well, just in case you and the listeners don't understand, mate, we tend to split the pitch into three, don't we?
Yeah.
The middle third is between the sticks, basically, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just in case. But yeah, so it's like, do you think your maturity's coming in with this now at loose forward as well, mate? Do you find are you getting comfortable at loose forward?
Yeah. Yeah. I think like at first it was what am I doing? And then like you got to think in certain aspects. Like your captains the team, but it doesn't. You can lead in different ways. So you can lead by actions, you can lead by words, and sometimes like that carry when you're on your own trial line or that tackle that kind of stops them dead. Like is I'm not saying that that's the things did, but like you try and put yourselves in positions where you can be most beneficial for the rest of the team to see that they have the ability to do it as well, and promote others.
Did clubs come sniffing round, mate, or would you have
I
were you happy to carry on playing amateur rugby as well?
so trained at Wigan when I was under 16 a couple of times. Well, I remember some horrible sessions in the track and people like Sean Long, uh, that kind of group, year above me, all working hard, Anthony Murray, people like that. And like, it just didn't, yeah, there was better players than me, so that's why they went there. And like, at the end of my under 16 year, there was loads of new academy teams starting up. So I got asked, did I want to go to Rochdale? And I went and trained over the summer with Rochdale, played 2 trial matches and signed for them.
So how was that, mate? And what was the commuting? Was it like your mum and dad, or
No, so
is it?
the guy, I got commuting off my mum and
Yeah,
dad. I got lifts because there's about 4 of us from the same team that went. I got
right.
some of the players lived in St Helens, so I got jumped. I used to get dropped off at Haydock Island or walk up, get the bus, walk into town, get the bus out. Yeah, Haydock Island, and just stand in the Shell garage and get picked up and taken down the M62. It was like, but like, I think that's where a lot of my learning around academies came for now came from what I did then, and like
Right.
what I wouldn't want young players to do now, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Unless
it does,
it was,
mate. Yeah. So when do you first remember starting to pick up coaching or mentor tendencies?
Uh, so I did my A levels at John Rugby, so I played
Yeah,
2 years at Rochdale, and
right.
I played first team when I was 16 in the Challenge Cup.
That's quite big exposure, mate, isn't it?
Yeah, at
Yeah,
16, like playing
yeah.
in second row in the Challenge Cup, and then that year I played a few more games, and then in my under 18 year, I got a few more. But I was doing my A levels. I remember getting bashed at Keighley in the head, and then doing A level P the day after, and thinking, why am I comparing Russia, Australia, and UK, and I can't even think straight. Like in an exam, it's like, and kind of towards the end of that, I'd applied to go to uni, and I got quite a bad arm injury. So I fractured my scaphoid and fractured my radius, and I ended up having surgery on it. And that took about 6 to 8 months to heal, which was an absolute nightmare. But when I started at uni, I was trained. I went to uni in Lancaster, and like I ended up starting to do bits of coaching while I was not able to play.
Yeah.
And I played basketball instead of playing rugby in that block with an arm guard on, and just when I could. And like when the rugby was on, it was like I'd go and watch, and I'd just offer ideas and bits like that whilst I was like still in the cast and stuff. So probably in and around being 19. Well, I was 18, so I was 18 when I went to uni, so because I'm that young one, aren't I?
Yeah.
So like in that first block, I would have been an 18-year-old with a load of other people older than me, just saying little bits around what if we try this, what if you do that?
And do you reckon, outside of Aiden, the first time you've been challenged in that way, Kev?
Um, yeah, I'd say so. I mean, playing at Rochdale was like that first year was like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
Like, so there was like Huddersfield had an academy team. Uh, like we played them and we all little games. And that year, that team, we played at Wilderspool against Wakefield in the Academy Cup. We beat them.
Right. Yeah.
And then we went to Central Park and played St Helens in the semi-final. And Lee
And you're a
Breers.
Wigan fans as well, aren't you? So that
Yeah.
must have been,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So like playing at Central Park for Rochdale against St Helens, like was unbelievable. And you're like Joey Hayes, Danny Arnold, Andy A, Lee Breers. Like this team they went on to smash Wigan the week after in the final. Like, and we're playing against them, Rochdale from Division One against Saints, top of the league and stuff like that. And you're like, this is great. Like, and then it
Did
kind
you
of,
enjoy that exposure, Kev?
yeah, I
Yeah,
did. I did. It was
yeah.
hard. I enjoyed it. And like, but like the one thing I learned and like one thing that carried with me is like I probably overplayed and undertrained. So like I can remember like benching on a Sunday. So if I was looking to play in the first team game, like I might have got there's a possibility I could have played on the bench at some point. I only played about 8 times in that period. But then I was doubled up in the academy on a Monday.
Yeah, some going in it.
And then the 18 was Thursday night because the 18 existed.
Yeah,
Or 18, and like then days, some 18 games were Saturday.
yeah.
And then the best two from the 18 were on the bench on the Sunday.
Bench, yeah, yeah.
And you're like, I'm 17.
I'm playing
And
3 games a week at that level.
yeah,
Yeah,
and like I'm underdeveloped physically, but and I can remember I remember getting smacked at Dewsbury. And they had to cut my shirt off me because I completely popped my collarbone out, like AC joint. I remember being in tears and one of the players coming up to me and saying, have a minute, calm yourself down. Like, don't let anybody else see you're upset. Just let him cut your shirt off and breathe. It was probably one of the best bits of advice I got. Like,
yeah.
I've said it in a cruder way than that, but like,
Yeah.
I just simplified
We
it.
get it, mate. Well, hopefully they didn't charge you for the top.
Nope. Luckily.
Yeah. So, do you know, growing up, mate, did you play multiple sports?
No. So I had really bad asthma as a kid. I had exercise-induced asthma, and like I used to swim because asthma club had swimming. I stuck my hand at karate, but like rugby was if town team was Thursday, club was Friday. You town team would play Saturday. You play club on a Sunday. You don't have time for anything else, and like you don't have time to do other things unless you're doing it through school.
So, did the basketball open you up to uh, silly things like intricate footwork and opening spaces up, or did you
No,
not look at it like that?
yeah,
Just
it did because all it allowed me to do was because I can't shoot for fun. Well, I'm got
yeah,
on the worst, but I can understand where spaces and put I can. So if I got a rebound, I could pass a ball quite well to put someone in space, like quick transitions. So it speeds up your thought process, little bits like that. And yeah, it was just that balance of I wasn't completely right for playing rugby, but actually. And basketball sounds stupid with a wrist injury, but it was that way of just trying to get into a sport where I could wear like some kind of splint on my hand and just get some kind of intense exercise going, as well as doing some running and bits like that.
right, mate. And then when you were helping out with the rugby at uni, was it with uni or did you venture out at Vale Loons by
Nope, didn't do
Lancaster,
anything.
didn't it? Oh, just uni, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
And
like there
what
was
was
two,
uni rugby like?
so I was really lucky. So like uh at uni, like we were only a Division Two team, so it would have been like Liverpool, Hope, us, a lot of people like that. Chester, them kind of universities, not top tiers like John Moores and things like
Right.
that. But like we had a good team and we won quite a few matches and we had a good crack. And like at that point, uh, another person that got me quite a bit of exposure was a guy called Vinny Webb. He was Great Britain students coach, and a guy called Neil Wood, who was head of student rugby league. So like because there's a guy called Chris. There's a family called the Deacons. Peter Deacon used to be at Bradford as marketing manager and stuff. And Chris was my coach at Rochdale, and he knew that I was trying to get back in. And he spoke to like Neil Wood about me going playing student rugby. And like I got this phone call, can you come and do this training session? Yeah, okay, right. Another training session. Yeah, right. We're going to France next week, playing against France. Oh, okay. And then England were playing in the home nations in Scotland, so I played in that team, and then that rolled into going to Australia with the students and playing against Australia in Australia, and
Oh,
then
that's class, that though, isn't it? So, like, 'cause without being rude, like a bit of a second chance as well.
yeah, because
Yeah.
I'd kind of pied Rochdale at this point because I was concentrating everything on that, and then like so Australia was really good for me. It was successful. And we came back, and then there was a student World Cup hosted in Hull, and I played for England in that, and we got to the World Cup final and got beat by New Zealand at
Fair
Hull.
play, isn't it?
So in
That's
the,
class, mate.
so like the back end of my like uni bit was really successful. So I had like opportunities to go to Australia, which actually made me appreciate Australia more than the first time
No, I
because I
think
was
it's
older.
class exposure that because it is probably, do you think probably a bit better than Rochdale Academy, but not like A team maybe. It's that middle
I
ground or
reckon
better than A team.
but the thing is like on the back of like these student bits, I'm kind of moving on a bit now. Like Mike Ford was at Bramley, coaching Bramley, and there was the team that we played in the students in the World Cup. Three of them were playing in Bramley. So Mark Sibbs and Pat Rich were all playing there. And we came off the back of the World Cup and I get a phone call saying, can you come over to Oldham? And we'll want to have a chat with you around. And I kind of got a second chance.
Yeah.
And if it hadn't have been for like the opportunities through And I think you look at it now with Buck Super Rugby for the rugby union and like the people that have come through that. I think it's a bit different for rugby league because a lot of the lads sign pro, stay pro, and do uni part time and don't really do it. For me, it gave me an opportunity to play in some good grounds, see the world, but also then gave me an into Division One and playing at that level again, which I thought had gone and I actually enjoyed this time.
Good. So a little bit to do with Rochdale as well, mate. What's a new environment like for you? How do you cope with that? Are you comfortable with it?
Yeah, I mean, it takes time, doesn't it? So you've got to, firstly, like, you've got to embed yourself in it. Imagine being like, let's put the picture straight. Imagine being 16, going into that men's environment. And at the end of that summer, I was still 15. I hadn't turned 16 when I was on trial.
Yeah.
And then 3 4 months later, we've played the academy matches at Hull KR, and they've gone the jump from there to A League or the jump from there to first team is pretty much the same. Like,
Yeah.
let's give him a go. I'm like, oh, okay. Right. And then you're now not just in mixing with under 19s, because that was what the academy was. You're now mixing with 30 odd year old blokes. Like,
Returning from bans or suspensions
yeah,
or injury in it.
or
Yeah.
injury. And like, who's
Yeah.
this young kid that suddenly steps in our changing room? Oh, he's going to showers with my shorts on. Like,
Mm. Yeah, they're used to baths and stuff,
you
aren't
can't
they?
do it
And
now.
Bollico and
You
that.
can't do
Yeah.
it now because of safeguarding.
Yeah.
So it's like, and I learned so much about like, even if it was just like conversations and listening to people, like you grew up because you had to have that maturity for them to accept you. But in
Yeah.
terms of new environments, like I've obviously been in different rugby environments, different work environments, and I'm in a completely different one now. But it's more like, don't, if they employ you, they employ you. Don't employ someone that's not. Don't create an act or a show that when you walk in on day one, they go, that's not the guy we gave the job to.
Yeah. You get found out anyway,
Yeah, of
eventually,
course you
Kev,
do.
don't you? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
A lot of like probably a lot of it is down to being like thinking you're not good enough, imposter syndrome. Like, how have I got to this place? How am I doing this? Actually, people see a lot of merit in you. And it probably takes time to look back and reflect before you can actually go, yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. So even at academy, mate, you were 15/16 playing 19-year-olds, which is still massive, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then from that you went to A team, which, like you said, is like seasoned pros,
Yeah.
either returning or being phased out, but still got it, haven't they? And know
Yeah.
the dark arts and all that little thing,
Yeah.
and then that's still very competitive A League. I remember witnesses A League, mate, and it was virtually like a second first team.
Yeah.
So
Like,
in the 90s, so it's like it was very competitive, mate, wasn't it?
yeah. I mean, like, I didn't get picked, but Rochdale drew Wigan in the Regal Trophy. And like, I was
Yeah,
in, like, Twiggy Mild was playing for Wigan.
madness. And
That's the age I was playing rugby at. Like I remember playing a game and it was Rochdale against Salford at Spotland. Spotland was an amazing pitch, by the way. So was Boundary Park. Uh, and Salford came out and there was Scott Naylor, Nathan McAvoy, Peter Edwards, Mike Gregory. I think Di Young might have played. Richard Webster. Like, two of them are British Lions. Like, Mike Gregory
yeah,
scored one of the best Great Britain tries ever, like full length of field at the Sydney Football Stadium. And you're like, I'm getting bashed up now. Like, this is
at least
nuts.
you'll get some tie-ups.
I'm like
It must
17.
have been a bit like that, actually, mate. Like
I'm
a bit of
17
thought.
getting filled up by all these England ex-Great Britain players.
Yeah, it must have been because you're a fan of the game as well, mate. So surely a little bit starstruck as well.
Yeah. Ah, yeah. I have like memories of I went to Wembley in '85 with my dad, Wigan against Hull, and there was 102,000 people there. Like, I was sat on the tunnel, Wigan versus Manly, with 38,000 in 38,000 in Central Park. Like,
Was that the old cage in that? Was it? Did it have the cage?
no,
Central
so
Park.
where the old tunnel where it was a diagonal wall that went down,
Yeah.
and then they put a little bit of a plastic thing over the top to stop people spitting on certain teams when they came out. I was literally
Yeah.
got there that early, was sat on the downslope watching Wigan against Manly. Like,
That's that, isn't it?
yeah. And like
Yeah.
that, you end up like it's like now I watch rugby to watch the players that I've worked with, see how they're doing. Very rarely watch.
A neutral game sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I try and watch a lot of games because there's a lot of people that I've seen go through systems playing in a lot of matches. And you're
Yeah.
keen to see how they're doing.
Yeah. Indeed. I'll be modest either. Do you get like a joy out of seeing product of what you've been involved with? Because obviously there's more than just you, isn't there? There's the journey and that, but surely you get a bit of enjoyment when you see them exposed on like a debut in a Prem Cup or
Yeah.
an
So
under
like
20s World Cup and stuff.
definitely. And like, but the the bit to remember and the bit that like so I moved on from Sale in the summer, like
Yeah.
to do other things, but I'm content. I'm not going to win the Heineken Cup. I'm
Yeah.
not going to win the Premiership, but I've seen so many debuts and I've seen so many international debuts. I've seen kids play Prem Cup. I've seen them play first team. I've watched them play for England and I've watched them play for the Lions. They can't do any more than that. And it's like
No, you
people that have
can't,
been in
mate.
systems and I'm like, so at the minute, like I work for an organisation called Young Gloucester, which is a young person's charity. And I'm a King's Trust team leader. What was the Prince's Trust?
Yeah.
He's now the King's Trust because he's the king now.
Yeah.
So I've had a team for the last 12 weeks. And like one thing that it took me a while to realize, but it's so prominent now. And there's two things is like like the job I'm doing now, you are one moment in time in that young person's life. And you're not there to solve everything, but you're there to support them, develop skills, and give them. And if you go to development circles, you'll hear them talking about toolboxes. It's about giving them the necessary tools that they have to cope with various scenarios in life and sport as they progress through. And the other bit as well, like linked to what I'm doing now, is that the people that you're working with, you're preparing for the next person. So if if you unless you appreciate as an academy coach that you're not there to complete the job, you're
Yeah.
there to put them in the best position to hand on to the next coach. And they might not finish the job. And that coach might not be at the same club. It might be at a different club or it might be in a different environment. It's the same as working in like the environment I'm in now is we see these young people for 12 weeks and it's about developing the necessary and helping form skills and attitude and competencies or confidence or resilience so they can go back into the workplace or they can reapply to go to college or they can reapply. And some of the things that like become as important in the sporting world, I'm now working out in with young Gloucester and developing young people and trying to develop people that can move into the workplace.
Yeah. Is it a similar satisfaction? But I know sport's real, Kev. But what you're doing now is real life, isn't it?
Yeah. So
You're
like
not you're not kicking them on for the team. You're kicking them on to progress in life, aren't you?
yeah.
If
So
and if
like
a team comes, that's great.
yeah. So like the team program that I work on is like 12 weeks and you run through all these different elements. So you go away in residential, it's like high challenge, high support. Like you have a community project where you go and embed in the community. So we work with a homeless charity in Gloucester this time. Work with two actually. And then they have employment skills, and then do work experience. Then they have mock interviews, and then they have a final team challenge. And ultimately, it's this 12 weeks is exactly the same as the under 17, under 18 academy cycle, just shortened. And
Yeah,
like, I, the, I've seen some amazing things in sport. Like, uh, I took, when I worked at Leicester Tigers, we went to Clermont and beat Clermont at Clermont. And like, that was unreal. Watching some of the things that some of the young players were doing was
yeah,
phenomenal. I've seen like, uh, uh, George Ford named under 18 level named under 20 World Junior Player of the Year when he went to the World Cup. Like, and he'd been in the academy system for 2 years. Like Lewis Rees Zammit, that when he entered the senior world was just a different domain. But like in the world that I see now, like they're all massive, but the starting point is different.
yeah,
Like in the world that I've just been in, and this this made me as proud as anything that's gone on there is there was an event that went on with work, and it was a carol concert before Christmas, and my team had some setbacks, and it happens. Your numbers come in, your numbers drop, and they asked whether anyone on my team could do a Q&A for this event. Now, unbeknownst to me, there's 200 people at this event, and like I've got people that have come on for confidence, to build trust, all this, and I asked this one person whether they could one, would it be an idea they'd think about to float it? And then would they be something that they'd be happy to try? And they said yes. And when they got there, it was a bit daunting. But in front
yeah.
of 200 people, someone that was very quiet 10 weeks ago was able to stand, articulate themselves, where they're at, what they've achieved, and where they want to go to in front of 200 people. And that is real life. That is
Some achievement, isn't
that
it?
is some achievement. And you
Yeah,
you think about all these, which are I'm not saying they're not. That I've had some. I'm really proud of a lot of the things that have gone on, but that's up there as being one of the
right
things
up
that
there.
I'm really proud of as well. And it's that balance of like you can't you can't solve every problem, and you can't
Yeah,
try and fix everything that's going on, but you can try and equip these people with the necessary tools to be able to do the things they want to do moving forward and have got different experiences to then cope with different environments, different coaches, different employers, different things. And yeah, it just shows that the contrast and the similarities really.
yeah. No, I like that, mate. I like that. So going back to you in Oldham then, mate, did it take much persuading Oldham?
Hmm. Probably not. I just had to work out. I think I was still registered to Rochdale. I was like, "Can you deregister me?" I was like, "Yep,
Yeah.
okay, done." And then I went, trained all summer, all winter. Where were we at then? Yeah, we just transitioned to summer rugby.
Right.
So like, yeah, trained all the way through. What happened in my first year? Hmm. Played Widnes at Widnes. Never didn't. Um, no, second year. First year. Yeah. It was all right, up and down.
Yeah.
And like, we finished fourth, got to the playoffs, got beat by Lee at Lee. And
So
then,
would that'd have been Hilton Park, wouldn't it? Just
oh,
barely
yeah.
east. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, the week before, we played Doncaster at Doncaster. St Ellis was coach. And it was 26 all at full time, middle of the summer. We played extra time and won 34-32. Mike Ford scored with in the last bit of extra time. That was horrendous. I can remember like being completely messed up after that. Like head all over the place.
So was this before the Aussie thing where teams went over? They tried to do like an Aussie British Super League, didn't they?
Yeah,
This
so this is
after that,
99 2001 this.
is it?
99
Right.
2000 2000 2001.
Yeah. And is this still playing loose forward, Kev? Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, back row,
Yeah.
really.
Right. And He's starting to see the game change as well. Mannerisms change, patterns change.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Like it was a bit more, there was more structure to it. And like the injuries I picked up, like an MCL injury for 7 weeks, came back from that. That was all right. And it was just like the people you were mixing with had higher expectations. So Steve Malloy came on loan at the end of the season. Brian Hanari came from St Helens on loan at the end of the season. They recruited Shane McMenemy, who ended up playing at Hull, and
he was class,
he
wasn't he,
was
Shane?
class. He was like
Yeah,
second row when I was in forward playing on the left hand side. And then halfway through my first year, Phil Farrell, Chris Farrell, and Neil Roden came from Wigan Academy, and I probably learned more. I trained with Phil and Neil all the way through then, and like in the off season, we'd be up in AOL running and stuff like that. Which if anyone's run through AOL, they'll know it's horrendous. And it was just like I had to work really hard to be competitive because they were good players. So to be competitive in that team, you had to work as hard as you could. And like that year, so the first year we finished fourth, we beat Doncaster away, but got beat at Lee the week after. And then in my second year, we beat Lee at Lee in the playoffs. Then we're 28-10 down to Rochdale at Scotland and win 32-28. And then we play Widnes in the Northern Four Premiership final.
yeah. So that was at Scotland as well, wasn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
And that
Right.
was the
So you're
last
in and around that then. So
the
what
last
was
ever rugby match I played.
was it?
Yeah.
So what was Oldham buzzing? Was it a nice time to be in and around Oldham?
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah.
Like there was like I mentioned there was lads that had come through the student bit. There was a crew of us from Wigan, so it was like Phil and Chris Farrell, Neil Roden, Paul Norton, me. So like there'd either be four of us in a car or two cars going and we'd be driving down. So there was a crack. Going to Oldham at 7 o'clock on a Sunday morning didn't bother us because like we knew that actually it was all right. We were getting good returns from it, and there was some good characters. So John Huff was there. He was a great player. Keith Brennan, scrum half type hooker, Leo Casey and Cleggy, like the front rowers. Like Leo was so experienced, he knew so much, but
There's
like,
some stories about him, mate. Yeah.
but you don't mess with him. Like
Yeah.
if you want him in front of you rather than on the other side,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
and then like Mike Ford would just be putting the team around the pitch in various places.
Right. So why was that your last game, mate? Is that free choice or
Yeah, like I went to go. I could have gone and signed for another year, and like I was doing bits around working in gyms because I was like trying to. I wanted to play rugby, so it was like finding a job that could facilitate what I wanted to do and bits like that. And then I'd done when I was doing my degree, I'd done some placement time at St Helens, and Nigel Jones, who was conditioner at Wigan, said, "Do you want to come and work with the academy? Like, it won't be a lot of money, but it'll be 3 sessions, 3 nights a week. Get your foot in the door and see what happens." So, kind of did that, and then after about 6 months, Mr. Whelan was putting his money into our rugby union, and I worked with our rugby union for 2 years before it all went a little bit wrong.
right. Did you flirted with rugby union before that as a player?
No, never.
No. If the offer would have come, would you have looked at it, Kev?
No, probably not. I didn't even. I don't know where I'd have fitted because I'd have only had a fitted in the second row, and at 6'6", it was like, yeah, I don't even know if I want to do that.
No. No, I get that, mate. Yeah. Not that engine room. So how did you find it at Orrell then, mate? And what was the transition like?
It was good. Like they were keen. They were trying to get promoted to obviously the Premiership. They finished second 2 years in a row, and it didn't kind of work. They had some good players. They brought in some good coaches. Like they were in the infancy of they were. I talk about professional with a big P and a little P, and they were trying to get professional very quick. But I don't know if necessarily know the infrastructure was completely there. But
Yeah.
what it did do is it messed up the club long term.
Right. So how do you would you have been like position specific? Would you have been structures? How do you start to influence the gameplay?
To be honest, at that point there, it was more around we had probably 10 or 11 that were full time, and it was
Yeah.
facilitating the full time guys to get them in the best condition possible, and like making sure that the qualities that they had, they were able to display when they were playing. Some of them were
Yeah.
already injury compromised, so they had certain knocks that you couldn't work with, or they were trying to get contracts and do other bits. And it was like, okay, kind of got learn I had to learn a lot very quick, but it followed a very simple structure and pattern to the programs that we did with them physically.
Yeah. And then so was that a couple of years that Kev? Yeah.
Yeah. So what I did
Yeah.
like 2001 to 2004 at like
Right.
Wigan Academy. So I worked with Mike Gregory in the academy and Dennis Betts. And then I did a bit of support work with the first team towards the end of that before I moved on.
So did you notice a spike in attendances at out with Union after the World Cup win and out? Or any
Oh.
kids flooding through wanting to be Union players? Because I'll
Not
be honest,
really.
when I grew up, mate, I'd never heard of rugby union until I went to high school.
No, I don't think you did. I think you probably, I think we're in a difficult patch for that. I think in other areas you would see a lot of it. I think in Wigan,
Right.
what was it? 2002? Weren't the Challenge Cup winners in 2002? They beat St Helens at Murrayfield or something like that. Chris Radlowski comes
Yeah,
out of his hospital bed with a foot infection and gets man of the match.
yeah,
Like,
yeah. So yeah, I get what you're saying.
how'd you beat that? Like,
Yeah,
if you've still got a team which is Farrell, Radlinski, Newton, Terry O'Connor, Craig Smith, and then you've got your young lads of Aspinwall, Wild, Sean O'Loughlin,
Brown. Yeah,
like,
Kev Brown. Yeah,
yeah,
Hawk.
Kev, yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
Ryan Hargreaves, Paul Prescott coming through.
yeah.
Like, you still got David
Eamon
Hearn.
O'Connell and that.
David
Yeah,
Hearn
no,
has
it's a
not
good
moved on at
side.
this point. He's still there.
Yeah,
Like, you're struggling to, like, like every kid in Wigan who plays rugby wants to play for Wigan. I
yeah.
never played for Wigan, but I worked for him. And like seriously, the hairs on the back of your neck stand up when the crowd goes nuts when they walk out the tunnel.
Yeah. No, I can imagine, mate. And back when the eight-piece ball, if you know, you know,
Yeah.
the magical ball won it. So, do you know when you played against? Have you played against Wigan as a player?
No.
No, I'm going to say it might be mad that your granddad wants you to lose, innit? That'd have been like split the house right open, wouldn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, yeah. It is one of them. Like, and that, yeah, it, yeah. See, my brother's side, my brother's is his wife's family are all St Helens fans.
Yeah, I've had Greg on. Yeah,
So like that's where like it becomes interesting for him.
yeah. That's his problem, mate, innit?
That's his problem, not mine.
So when you're around these environments, mate, you know, like you mentioned before, how you're preparing the player or the person in what you're in now, but for someone else to take them on.
Yeah.
When did you accept that, or did you find it hard to accept that?
No, yeah. So I left Wigan in '04 and I
Yeah,
worked for the LTA or British Tennis for 4 years. And I met some interesting people in there who like I've met some people along the journey that have been really, really influential. So like I met Nigel Jones gave me a break at Wigan. Mike Gregory was there and I watched him start to get ill. And that was hard when he was from being the guy that was always jumping around, doing all the wrestling and stuff to getting worse. Dennis had a different way of doing it, and he was good. And then when I went to tennis, I met an Argentinian coach called Tito Vasquez, who like he wanted his young players to work hard, and like we worked at our base at the University of Bath, and we used to run cross country courses every Wednesday around the golf course around the outside, and we did it in the rain and we did it in the wind, and he didn't stop us. He let us do it because he wanted them out the centre working hard on different bits, and he appreciated that the skills and the elements that they were being pushed in were actually going to better them on the tennis court later in their lives. They just didn't see it right now.
Yeah.
And another guy that like I learned a hell of a lot from is a guy called Matt Little, who was Andy Murray's coach for 10 years, fitness coach. And Matt, in terms of soft skills and getting people to work for him and getting buy-in, I learned a hell of a lot from him in terms of how to formulate and try to get people to take ownership of what they're doing
On an individual basis in that manner.
Yeah.
Because tennis is a very singular sport, mate,
Yeah.
isn't it? It's
You
like,
have to generate your own accountability.
yeah. So how do you facilitate your skill set to them sports, mate? Just
You
a very
you have to
different,
trust the
aren't
people around you. Ask lots of like people think I'm a nightmare because I ask why a hell of a lot. But I ask
you
why from
talk to though, mate? Sorry to interrupt, you talk to on the coaching badges though with the RFU, aren't
yeah.
you?
But I just ask why for understanding. So like
Yeah.
if like something is there for me to try and grasp, okay, that's great. But what are the if we do this, what will this give us? So why do we do this? To give me so we can work out different ways to achieve what you want us to achieve, not just do it in the same way.
You're just breaking the formula down.
Because people might not respond in the same way to the same stimulus.
When did you start recognising that though?
Uh,
As a player or after playing?
Probably towards the end of playing, but then probably not till I went to Leicester, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because
Was
that's
you
where
potentially spotting stuff in players you were playing with that you thought I could help him with that? Or did you? Because a lot of people don't have it in them while they're playing, did he?
no, little bits, but it was more let the coaches do what they're doing. Like
Oh yeah, I suppose that's what they're for, isn't it?
that's what they're for. And then like on the pitch, I've like the little conversations that you have, like we said earlier about I'm going inside, you're going outside shoulder, like but we both need to expect it. Little bits like that. Just let's just load this guy up, he's knackered, let's go at him. Probably.
Your journey's took you through mad spaces, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And you've still able to hold your own in them spaces, even though
Mm.
you're not necessarily familiar with them because you've just like most of us played the one sport
Yeah.
and not really been exposed to it through school, other than all of us thinking we were Tin Emmen for the summer,
Yeah. Yeah.
or when Wimbledon was on, everyone was out, weren't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's a real accolade of yours, mate, to say you've been able to hold your own in them environments when you've absolutely no previous experience in them.
No.
Do you
Yeah.
appreciate that, or is it me marveling you that maybe brings it to?
No, no, no. I think like I alluded to earlier, I've achieved a lot, but I'm content with what I've achieved.
Yeah,
And like this last few months, I've had to there's been offers to go back and do bits at various different things. And I've had to like in my own head, it'd be easy to take them. But I don't know if it's necessarily where I want to be right now. Because part of doing what I'm doing is testing my skill set in a different area and seeing if I can like get as much of a like buzz from it as I did from the work of the rugby.
man, I like that, mate. Real like real self-assured. You are like really content, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean,
And just backing yourself.
yeah, I mean, when I like when I went from the LTA to Leicester, that was completely weird. So I when I was working at Orrell, we signed a hooker called Neil McCarthy who came with a knee injury, played for England, and he got me to do some work with him one-on-one, extra sessions and stuff. And when I went to Bath, I kind of lived with him for a bit. And like I had to go to London for a period of time working with the tennis. And I was like, sent a group of random texts out. Does anyone know of any opportunities coming in rugby? And I got one back saying, can you be at Oval Park, which is Leicester training ground, on Friday morning at 7:30? I was like, I can do 8:30, but I can't do 7:30. Said, okay. Got in. Next thing I know, we're having an informal chat with the rugby operations manager and myself. Okay. So that was Simon Cohen and him. The lead S&C was going to Chelsea. Did I want to go in as S&C at Leicester Tigers Academy? I was like,
Yes, I do.
yes. I want to get back into rugby. And going into there was really difficult as well because they were off the back of like the cultural legacy at Leicester is unreal.
Yeah.
Like so
Everyone
much,
knows about Leicester Tigers, don't they?
so much like Wigan. Like in
Yeah.
terms of expectation, success. Like if you think that there was like Brett Deacon, Lewis Deacon, Ollie Smith, Sam Bestie, Danny Ipkiss, Billy Twelvetrees, all that came through their program at that time, right? It was like
Yeah.
Wigan churning out Farrell, uh, Newton, bam, bam. I know Terry came from Leeds, but like the conveyor
Yeah.
belt. And it was like, wow. And they'd also had really good, successful coaches there. So like Craig White, who's one of the noted as one of the best S&C guys around, had achieved a load of success at Wasps with back-to-back Heineken
Yeah.
Cups, was doing stuff there. Like I can remember all these academy lads going, we're doing this, isn't this? I was like, right, we're running. And he went, we don't run. I said, we're running. Get outside. This is pre-season. You play rugby on your feet. We're running. And I can remember doing some mad sessions, like with some of these young players. But like, I can also remember that within 1 year, the academy team itself beat England under 18s, beat Scotland under 18s, beat Japan high schools, beat Claremont in Claremont. Like, they were unreal.
Yeah.
But when you had a senior squad which had Jordan Murphy, Alassana Tuolangi, like Aaron Major, they brought Lottie Takiri in at one point. Like, they had internationals across the board. Sometimes that it's hard to see where that progression comes, but the expectation of producing is still there.
Yeah. And did the players feel that? Did you just feel that, do you think?
No, I don't. We didn't. We saw it,
Yeah.
but players still wanted to get senior academy
Players for
contracts and
Western.
go through. Come
Yeah.
on, like because yeah, it's like it's one of the biggest things you can do.
Yeah.
Like
Um,
playing for Gloucester, is like the same, or playing for Sale is the same. It's the way you onboard your players and the way you make them feel part of the overall structure of the organisation.
yeah. Did it take long for the players to get the buy-in, or was it a few results where they thought your
No,
methods were
no,
good?
it's just like like we Neil used to have a quote on his wall, and it was like, uh, "This program doesn't produce characters; it exposes them." And it's like the we worked hard, we played tough games. So the way he scheduled his development program was like we ran like a 16 to 19 program, and we'd play an under 18 game, an under 19 game, and then we might play an under 20 match, which would be really testing. And you'd play players up and down the spectrum give them different exposure at different levels. So you could test either communication, confidence, like where were they at, what ability wise, little bits like that. And like it worked really, really well. And like we probably did that for what was it, 7 years, 8 years, until about 2015. And like the system was like people were popping out. So if you think like George Ford came in at 16. Manu Tuolangi was already in it. Guy called Alex Lewington, who's played 100 and odd games for Saracens, who's retired this year, was in it. Like the list of in. One thing we did measure was like we put at times we didn't get many under 18 internationals, but the transition into 20s was high. Harry Thacker, who's at Bristol, like there's players all over the country coming from those programs.
Yeah. He was like the new version of Hooker one. He was like a young, like I think the player I remember, mate, that changed that position in this country was a foreign player, but it was Shout Brits.
Yeah.
He was like flamboyant Hooker where he changed the mould here, didn't he? And I think Harry was very much of
So,
he still is very much of that mould.
So Heineken Meyer came over and coached Leicester for 7 months. He was a South African guy.
Yeah.
Neil had already started conversations around moving Tom Young from centre to hooker.
Right.
And that was where that came from.
Okay. Because I did. Where did I think it's quite commonly known now, but earlier on in his career, it weren't known that he was a centre, was it?
No.
You wouldn't, and you wouldn't know because he took to it
physically
like
he
a duck
was
to
like
water.
stocky, squat, like. But
Yeah.
if you think about the physical quality, strong, quick, explosive, everything like a hooker needs.
Yeah.
Can you throw? Can you teach him to throw? That's the next bit.
No, so how do you harness that, mate? How do you expose that? So do you know, like your program playing 18 to 20 games? Was there was there a dual reg system, like a loan system that you would have used with a local club
There would
in
have
the
been for the
National League?
20s, but not when the academy was playing matches all the way through. Lads that stepped out of it into like the senior program, they might
Yeah,
go on loan at various clubs around the country, like Leicester Lions or Moseley or something like that.
Coventry and stuff. Yeah,
Coventry, yeah. Or
yeah,
Bedford was a really good one. Like
right.
Billy Twelvetrees, Dan Colo went to Bedford and did like dual reg there. But that was
Yeah,
like under the understanding that there was a transition of position or they wanted them playing certain positions to get more exposure in that kind of field.
yeah. And did you have any input into minutes, no positions, club or
No,
out? No,
not at that level. It's kind of
right.
it changed. The stuff we did at Sale was very different, but I had more
Yeah,
involvement, especially with the first years that got
right.
signed, but not
Yeah,
really the maybe a bit at Gloucester when I went there, but not really at Leicester.
yeah. Right, mate. So how long was you at Leicester for, and why did that come to an end?
Just I was 08 to 2015, and like
It's a good chunk, mate, in it.
yeah, and then Neil moved to Gloucester, and he asked me did I want to go to Gloucester, and I like things were changing, they were decentralizing the system, they were sending it back out to the schools, all that kind of stuff, and it was like, you know what, might be the right time to go,
Yeah.
and then like I got the opportunity to go to Gloucester and did 5 years there then.
Right. So do you know, like a lot of coaches have cycles?
Yeah,
Do you feel like that number is in and around your cycle
no,
with rugby?
no.
No.
I think if you work in an academy, you go work for 4 years.
Okay.
So it's 16 to 20.
Yeah.
So you see your 16s for 3 years, under 16 or 17 or 18, and then transition 19s, and then they go out. And like,
Right. And,
if
and
you work on
have
a
you
full,
accepted handing players over at this point now?
and that's where I had to accept because, and it was probably Fordy that made me understand that
Yeah.
I went away on holiday and came back and he was in the senior squad, but no one had told me. So the way they did it, I didn't appreciate.
Yeah.
But what they did it for, I finally got.
Right. Okay.
Now, in post that, I would be going to senior coaches. I've got a 19-year-old that needs this kind of supervision.
Suppose, yeah.
I can't. I'm not skilled enough to give it to him because I've got all these others to look after. Can he jump into the senior sessions?
Right. Okay. So that'd be the initial step, Kev. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. I imagine that's still like you go in like a sponge, wouldn't you? You just even if you just watched, you'd be in awe. I've no doubt you're in them sessions. And
Yeah.
it's
I
a
mean,
credit
like,
to you as well, isn't it? Because it showed that the pathway works.
yeah, and like there's been a lot of success in the pathways. There's a lot of like Gloucester squad now that were coming out of that pathway between 18, 19 and coming through. Like one played his 100th game last week. One's just signed a new contract, been added to the England squad, senior England squad. You've got like Harry Randall flying at Bristol, Ben Velicott at Edinburgh. You've obviously got Zam in the NFL. You've got all people all over the place, but they've also got a core of academy lads. They're actually plying their trade in that team and doing well at the minute. So Kieran Knight, Seb Blake, Freddie Clark, Arthur Clark, Jack Clement, Ludlow came through the system, and then like some of the backs as well.
Yeah. No. So, and for all them good chats you can have, Kev, what are the not so good chats like? And say a lad's being released, maybe.
But I've got a
Do
really
you
good
have a
reference
duty?
point for this.
Sorry, mate. Have you got a duty, Kurt, to help find another club? Is that something
Mm,
rugby do?
Kind of like university places, giving DORs in universities, trying to put people in places. But I've got like in the last 3 years, I've got a really good reference point because my son was at Sale. So he didn't get through the system, he got released. So I know what those conversations are like from a coach and from a parent. And I know how they take
Yeah.
them and I know how they're measured. So
Right.
I know even knowing knowing what was in the system doesn't stop him dreaming.
And no, neither should it, should
And
it?
neither should it. So the
No.
disappointment and upset at naught is still
Yeah.
big, even when
Yeah.
you don't get
And
that dream ticket.
yeah, and do you know when lads don't, how do you motivate them to keep striving? Like, sorry to use you as an example, but will he go and try and play national leagues now?
He's
Is
playing at
he
Wigan
gonna
Rugby
go?
Union in their first team now.
Yeah,
And
and
like but
happy to do so.
he's a hooker and he's 18.
Yeah, no
So
bigger exposure. Yeah, it's to play men's rugby.
so if he goes up too fast too quick, he just gets
Yeah,
swallowed up.
yeah,
And there's this coach at Wigan, Martin Scott, who
yeah,
is helping him and looking after him,
yeah,
like giving him a bit of guidance, an old head, helping him out. There's a load of senior players around that have been their ages that because he can throw a decent ball, they're getting greater attacking options. And
yeah.
he's opening up the game for him. But he still has to earn his stripes and we do all his pre-season. And if he doesn't score, he'll get the same repercussions as everybody else that doesn't score. And like, but that's part of being
Yeah,
part of a men's team, isn't it?
yeah. And there's
But like,
no guilt attached to a pint either. Then is there the
no,
social side of it
yeah.
and things? Yeah,
And like I separate myself from it. Like
yeah,
because I don't live up there now. I'm going this weekend to go watch. And I stand away from it. Like, because I'm his dad. It's
yeah.
hard enough when you
Just let
coach
him
them.
be.
Let it be.
Yeah,
That's his social group. That's the people he mixes with.
yeah.
I'll
No, I
like
don't like that.
they go in the other room when they give the man the match out. I see him after that. And that's about
Yeah,
30 minutes after he's been in the bar with everybody else. He says hello, but
yeah. No neck a pint yet, Annie.
yeah.
Right. So one of the other questions is, mate, you know, when lads are getting their markers and are gaining recognition through representative teams, how do you keep them grounded, keep them motivated, keep them striving? Because you must have come across some lads that I think they've already cracked it at 19 or whatever.
Yeah, and I think like you're only one game away from it finishing, aren't you? Like your
Yeah,
poor performance. So you've seen kids that have high flyers and things have gone wrong in big matches and they've never been seen again. And you don't want that on anybody. But more like if they've been away on international duty and coming back, first part of the session is getting them back into that club and doing what that club do. Yeah, we can have a laugh about what you did there, but this is here. And
yeah,
like this is what we're doing. Like you do really well at this, and it gives you the opportunities to do that. But if you don't keep up the work you're doing at this here, those opportunities won't exist pretty soon.
yeah.
And you've got to keep
And
like,
it's for them to find out them, Kevin. It.
yeah. And like you
Yeah,
can't, like you said, it's that toolbox idea of like whether it be that young person at young Gloucester or whether it that person in one of those teams. It's like, what skills have you got? What what equipment have you got in your toolbox that when this situation happens, you've got skills you can pull back on and deal with, or like dealing with like high achieving. Like, are you reflective? Is it realistic? Do you know what you're looking at? How can you get better? Do you listen to all the smoke? Because as much as you can get all the good bits, there's also a chance that with a bad performance, there's also a lot of trolls that are out there that can make your life not very nice as well. So you're only like a performance away from things changing.
How do you create an environment where people are happy to challenge you? And like, say a video session, for instance, is it partly player run? Is it partly coach led? And do you allow different
I
ideas and things?
think it depends where you work and like how what kind of philosophy you have and like what the other coaches want to get. Like at Sale, the coaches at times would be they'd have game with their under 18s, they'd have game drivers and game leaders that were one was charged with defense, one was charged with attack. And like this, can't comment on this year, but like last year they signed 9 players. They've got 9 lads in the under 20s this year.
Yeah.
Some of the key players in those groups were given specific roles to lead on meetings because they were the ones that would lead around the pitch. And
Yeah.
it's giving those those players the appropriate challenge in order to drive the team forward because that's what they're going to do when they're playing on the Saturday and developing that skill set in different places.
Because you'll know at that point what lads talk at the right time, won't you?
Yeah.
And what lads will talk with actions rather than words. And
Yeah.
yeah.
But the other
Right.
bit
So
as well
how did
is making
what?
sure
Sorry.
that like you don't you don't try and put something on somebody knowing that they're going to fail
Yeah.
necessarily.
Yeah. Yeah. There's knowing your players, mate, and
Yeah.
their ability and capabilities. So when did Gloucester end? Why did it end, and where was next?
2021
Right.
after
COVID.
COVID, like they changed the structure internally. Like they went senior academy went straight into the senior squad, and they removed it just back to under 18s, and there was some big changes around the academy. And
As in the RFU did that.
no, the club did it,
No, Gloucester.
and
Yeah.
the way they remodeled it, and like Sale came up. I also interviewed at Leinster at that point, and it wasn't successful at Leinster, and went to interview at Sale and got it, and like was really open and transparent around like what was going on, and spent 3 years up there.
Right, mate. And again, was how do you transition into sales way of doing things, or did he give you the freedom for you to incorporate your way of doing things with theirs?
So I'm post COVID here,
Yeah.
so there was a load of things that we had to come up with. So like everything had been remote. So last year's under 18s would have been the first team that would have had 16s, 17s, 18s as full training and on board. The current under 18s would have had pre-season, which was still restricted in the summer, play. The under 17s would have had 2 years. So like you without backfilling, you're trying to reintroduce, and I had the license to reintroduce a style of work so that we were able to have a thread of things going through the age groups, which is what something they have Sale have a DNA which you can't get away from, and it's all, and they post it, so they have like a best teammate, relentless attacker, defensive warrior, no, creative attacker, defensive warrior, best teammate, and relentless athlete. So however you want to do it, you've got to encompass those things in the work that you're doing, and make sure that whatever you're doing reverts back to those kind of principles, first principles.
Yeah. And I can ask this because I've seen it on the socials, and that is, did the younger lads do go out on loan in the national leagues at Sale, don't they?
Yeah.
And do you think that's good exposure, mate? Do you like that dual reg system?
I think, yeah, I I think there's limited academy matches because there's only so many teams. They'll only get 4 exposures this year as under 18s. I think that those that get, I think what used to be A League is missing, and like there was a lot of young lads that played in the Prem Cup this year, especially at Doncaster, which was really good for them that got promoted this season. Lads have to be playing rugby, but it's finding that appropriate level. Like not every kid's ready, not every young player's ready for championship, but does National One prepare you for the next bit? It does, but it's getting those. It's being in the right team that playing the right way to allow you to express your qualities and show how good you can be.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. So it's what level are like Fylde and Chester and Preston? Is that national?
No, so Fylde
Two.
a 2,
Yeah.
Lim, Sale FC, Sedgley Park
Yeah.
a
And one,
1,
aren't they?
Caldy's
Yeah.
Championship,
Yeah.
Donny's Championship.
Right. What would you say the big differences are from say Nat 2 to Nat 1? What would a character sorry, what would characteristics would you look at to say that's probably more suited to National 2 than 1 or vice versa?
You kind of get caught. So like, do you send your best winger into National 2 if the ball's not going to get wide? Or do you send him to Championship, but he's not guaranteed to play every week because he hasn't got the experience that your other guys in the Championship have got? So you kind of caught in trying to fit players to places where they're going to get enough rugby, but is also going to test their skill set as well. So like you can't put a player to like there's a do you start your hookers in the Championship? No, you probably start them further down because they'll get more game time lower down than your front rowers. Whereas your outside backs, they normally transition quicker because they transition quicker in the senior squads. See, like if you look at the speed at which wingers come through, they come through quick, don't they?
You
Because
do, mate, yeah.
they show, but
Yeah.
a front rower might Sailor in a really exceptional position at the minute because they've got Bevan Rod at 21, 22, and they've got
Sure.
Ashton Opoku Fajor at 20. That's really young.
Yeah. And
But
Bevan
they're
feels like he's been around a long time already,
yeah,
doesn't he?
but they're able to deliver and cope. So it's like it doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily mean it's wrong. It just means that's the way it is.
Yeah. No, I'm just sorry to have put that on you. I was just thinking, and you're very right, aren't you? It's like no point sending a lad to a team that's going to get the ball twice because you can't
Yeah,
expect magic out of someone in a tight area surrounded by 5 people just because of who he's attached to.
and
Because
then you
people
suddenly
will see the parent club, won't they?
yeah, and then you go and see he's not going looking for the ball. So he goes looking for the
Yeah.
ball, and then the ball goes wide, and that's the only opportunity in the game.
Yeah. And do you have a limited um, brochure of clubs that you use, mate?
No,
No, so you could put them
Sale could
anywhere
use who they
necessarily.
want. Like, and like,
Yeah.
I think 2 years ago, Tom Curtis, James Harper, Joe Bedlow went and played in Sydney.
Okay.
They went and played in like the Sydney competition for the summer because they'd been injured and had limited game time through the season. So
Right.
to get them up to speed, they did 2 months out in Australia in like wherever that Sydney competition was.
And would that have been a partnership, Kev, or just an opportunity that arose?
I think there was an
Do you have
opportunity that
links
arose
out
from
there?
like the academy manager at Sale knew the head coach at this Sydney team, and they were after 3 players in certain positions, so it kind of worked. But like player schedules, if you're an under 20 international now, like you would. So there's a lad called Ollie Davis who is a very good 10, a scrum half called Dom Anson and Toby Wilson, but they're all no Ollie and Toby are 2 year under 20s. Dom's a 1 year because he's born
Has
before
he
Christmas.
just signed for sale on loan, are we?
That he's signed full time at Sale.
The Sale FC, sorry.
Yeah, he's a dual reg at
You're
FC.
Reggie or something. Yeah,
Toby's at
yeah.
Lim and
Right.
Dom's at Mac. I think he played. But like, if you think of their years now, they uh, they would go so like as they leave their under 18s, we're already having conversations like last year about when to release them into the senior game to get exposure in the matches, to get recognition from the 20s. to maybe be in a position to play in the Prem Cup, to then have game exposure before the international camps in November,
Right.
to then
Yeah.
pull back because they're going to play Six Nations. Six Nations will run for that block, then pull back to get matches again, but then have a training block before they go to the World Cup. And they'll get that for 2 years.
Yeah. I don't think we realise how much planning goes in there, mate, do we?
Like the amount of planning that goes in is not like to control what they do. It's to adapt when the changes happen.
Yeah,
If you haven't planned it, it's hard to adapt it.
true. And it depends if the it markers and that as well, doesn't it? It's
Well, to be honest, it more depends if they get injured.
yeah,
Because if they get injured, they don't get the exposure. Then you're trying to find the exposure to get them in a position
yeah.
to get the minutes under the belt to play. Because what you don't want to do is going into international would be cold.
No, not yeah, not at all, do you? Not at all. But it's like I don't like the phrase really, but you know if say they're drowning in the team they're at,
Yeah.
you surely you would not hesitate to pull them, wouldn't you?
Oh, like
And replan.
the
Drowning's
way,
not right, but you know if they're struggling,
yeah.
mate.
So the way
Yeah,
they would work at Sale is every Monday, like the S&C guy, the physio, the academy manager, and the transition coach would all meet every Monday. Where are they at? What minutes have they had? What does it look like for the week? What does it look like for the next 2 weeks? What does it look like for the next block? Where are the games? What do we need to consider? Boom. And like it's because dual reg is different to loan.
yeah,
Loan, you have to go and you have to come back. You have to go and you have to come back. Dual reg, you can change at various points. So if you played at FC one week, you could play at Calder the week 2 weeks after because you're an England qualified player, you can be shifted into that because they need that position, and
yeah.
you're capable of doing it. So that's the beauty of it. But it's just like the amount of planning that goes on behind the scenes is more for like when the circumstances change, how do you react to it?
Yeah. Right. And you know, with you being involved with the S&C earlier on, and obviously you've done it as a job to help facilitate playing and stuff for a bit. Would you earmark certain places not suitable for certain recoveries from injuries, or do you know, like the 4Gs, or would you restrict people's exposure to that,
So,
or if you know
so,
a heavy pitch and stuff like that?
so them things do go on. So
Yeah,
like those conversations are factored in to people returning to play because it affects the amount that they would play at that given time or the number of weeks in a row they play. So like one of the systems that they'd use is maybe a 3 on 1 off, even for
yeah,
players that are fully fit. A first year pro might go 3 games on, 1 week off. It gives them 3 days to regen, 7 days to train hard through the middle, 3 days to go back on loan to Red to go back out in week 5. And you're like,
yeah,
that system gives them consistency of matches, but it also doesn't burn them out because you don't know how much it takes out of them stepping up into that point. And
yeah,
that bit then is like when you factor that in to a bigger plan, then coaches go, oh, I can see that, I can see that, I can see that. I mean, like Ferguson used to talk about United where they play the young players have played the first 2 games and then they get pulled out in week 3 because the emotional energy or whatever else they're expending needs managing. So control them, give them a break, force break, go back again and go for longer.
yeah. But you enjoyed your time at Sale, mate, and
Yeah, it's class.
yeah, yeah.
Learned a lot.
Right. And then do you transition into this was simply just to challenge yourself and see what you can do with it?
Yeah, and like
Yeah,
also like just different personal circumstances and bits like that. Yeah, seemed like a good fit, so it was something I wanted to give a go to.
right, mate. So I appreciate I've had you on for ages. So I've come to that time now where I've got a few daft questions for you. So did you ever have any pre-match superstitions?
Not really, no. Like, no, I was quite boring.
Right. But would you eat the same meal without, mate?
Oh no, I'd just put my socks on first and then sit in my shorts and my shirt for me dress shirt for as long as I could.
Yeah.
Strap my thumbs on my own, don't let anybody else do it.
Yeah. Well, you do your own thumbs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. So the toughest word, by the way, mate, is different meaning for
Yeah,
everybody.
yeah.
But the toughest player you played with and against.
To be honest, like in my under 16 year, Terry Newton was probably one of the toughest players I've ever played with.
Yeah.
Like he was he was a hard lad, hard
Yeah.
player. He was tough with it. He had the skill
Yeah.
set to back it up. And probably like in that same time, the toughest player I probably played against was Paul Sculthorpe. Like he was just a machine. His engine was unreal. Like, but he could do everything.
Yeah. Really, that transcended into his senior rugby as well,
Yeah.
didn't it? Second row, loose forward, six.
Catch, pass, like
Yeah.
kick, he'd belt you, he'd like rough you up, he'd beat you with speed, he'd beat you with footwork. Mad.
That's understandable, mate. So your favourite away ground?
People won't remember Ilton Park, but like it was a proper old rugby town club,
Yeah.
vociferous, like
Would
hard.
you prefer the old stuff, mate? The old grounds on
Yeah,
top
like
here
I
and
played at
stuff.
Bellevue, Doncaster, played
Yeah.
at Ilton Park. Playing the McAlpine was special as a 16-year-old, like when you
Yeah.
against Huddersfield, but like I didn't really, yeah, Knowsley Road was all right. Yeah, probably yeah.
You've done all right, mate, and you know, you are modest. You have excelled on and off the field.
Yeah,
You've
I've
achieved,
been,
mate, haven't you?
yeah, I've managed to achieve a lot of things that kind of within that kind of space. And like, if my son listened to this, he wouldn't know half of it because I've not told him.
Yeah.
Because it's not about me, it's about him and his like the things he achieves and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
like, there's bits in here that he won't know about. He's been told
Right.
by my mum and dad, but
Yeah.
he won't know little bits. So yeah, it's more around like ultimately favorite ground was Central Park. Let's no away ground or old ground. I played at
Yeah.
some good ones, but sitting on the wall, on the tunnel wall at them big matches.
Seen some teams as well, mate, didn't you?
Yep.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. If you could tell a younger Kev anything, mate, what would it be?
It's okay, just give it a go.
Yeah. Did you used to stew over stuff and that, mate? Could you leave an error be and just
Yeah, yeah.
play, like get on with it?
Remember playing the Gibbons twins who played at Leeds, Anthony
Yeah.
and David. They played at Oldham with us, and like I
Right.
drop a ball and I go, sorry, and they go, don't say sorry, just catch it next time.
Yeah.
Stop,
Some people just can't do that, mate, can they? Like,
stop apologizing, just catch it next
yeah,
time. And it was like, if I make a mistake, I get you all jammed up and say, yeah, team, acknowledge it, but like, don't dwell, just move on.
yeah, yeah. Anyone else wants to do that, yourself back an header with an header, isn't it? Or a penalty with a penalty and stuff. Want to
Yeah,
double down on it. Yeah,
compile it or snowball it.
yeah. No, well, you'll just lose yourself in the game then, don't you? And
Yeah.
it flew by. So I don't know if you're drinking up, mate, but the microphone ends up in your hand. Carl want you to give us something. What are you singing?
Do you know what? I don't know. I reckon the only time I've probably when we went to Australia, we sang "Stand By Me," and when I think I've done Saturday Night at the Movies.
Two tunes though. Drifters and
Yeah,
Oasis.
yeah.
Yeah, two
No,
tunes.
no. Both the Drifters. "Stand By Me" by
Oh, Benny King.
Benny King.
Yeah. Oh, still tunes though, aren't they?
Yeah.
Are you
Control.
someone that you want some people getting involved, or you're happy
Yeah.
to blast
I,
it
I
out?
think uh, it depends. Like, if people want to join in, I ain't gonna stop them.
Yeah.
But again, I don't like being. I wouldn't want to be the center of attention in front of lots of people.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough, mate. That's fair enough. And if you're willing to, mate, a 1 to 13 that you've played with.
This was artist.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. You've been because of the environment you've been in. You played with some great players, haven't you?
I've also the thing is, I've also seen I've seen some good players as well. Like,
Yeah.
if I had a 1 to 13, I'd probably say that like majority of that Oldham team from 2001 with uh a Breers in the John Huff was good, but a Terry Newton in the and a Skullthorpe.
Right.
Like Leo, Tez,
Yeah.
Cleggy, Phil. I'd even put Hanari in there and Skullthorpe and take myself out. Like Breers and Ford at halfbacks. Then a little bit of back line. Breers, Mike Ford, Mark Sibson at fullback. Then they've
That's
got
Ziggy, that, innit?
yeah,
Mark Simpson. He played at the Wids with us for a bit, you know.
he's got him.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
thought
he's classy, Mark.
he played like he just doesn't know like he's running. He just ghosts.
Yeah. He played outside centre for us, mate.
Yeah,
Done a top job.
and then like back line had just been the lads that were there at that point.
Yeah.
Rich, him, Gibbons twins, Neil Roden.
Good time of your life, that then, mate, when you were playing there.
Yeah, yeah, I had a good. Yeah, I
Yeah.
enjoyed that. That was probably like the most. But being in the student bit, I was most enjoyed my rugby because I actually felt
Yeah.
like I was in it. I felt part part of a team at that point. When I was
Yeah.
16 and 17, I didn't understand it.
Yeah. And neither should you, really, should you?
No.
Still should be purely love and enjoyment then,
Yeah.
really, without any added pressure, I think.